Now today we would continue from where we stopped yesterday, and this is we stopped right here. Stopped about the commenting. So making a comment in programming language is very important. I mentioned the how important it is yesterday. That it's actually needed for you to remember where you stopped your coding in case you want to start again, or is uh or is you give me 1 minute, please. So as I was saying before, we're talking about commenting. So commenting is something which is very important so that you can remember what you've done before. So, and also commenting is something which also help people who are working with you, that helps them to know what exactly you're doing and what exactly you want to continue to do. So let's say, for example, I wrote print hello world. So I would say this code prints my name. This code prints whatever. So that would make the person to understand. There are multiple ways we can do. We can do sometimes we can do the commenting using some other ways. So I will show you some other ways of doing it now. So since Python would ignore string literals that are not assigned to a variable, you can add a multi-line string triple quotes. So once you write this triple quotes, so Python would also see those things as a comment. So he said this is a comment written in more than just one line, because sometimes you might want to write comments, which is a lot of message, a lot of information. Let's say, for example, commenting, which you want to describe what the code does or how you did the code and everything. So this is the exact way you do it. You put you put three quotes. So once you do that, is Python will not see the things inside it, will not see it as a problem. So Python will not see it as anything that is going to cause it's not going to run it. So Python will ignore it. So this is exactly the way we deal with it. So, and as long as the string is not assigned to a variable, Python will read the code, but would ignore it. And you have made a multi-line comment. So Python would read it. So it's not the same with the other one. Now, let me show you. Let me show you what I'm saying. The other one, Python would not see it, but this one, Python would see, but Python would not count it as part of it. It's going to see the way you wrote it, so it's not going to run it. So this is exactly what makes a difference. So I would show you how we usually do it. Let me go to Replit. So I'll go to Replit now to make you see what I'm talking about. Can you see my screen? So yes, let me open it.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, let me open a new Replit. So we say Python, and you say create REPL. I didn't label it, but it's fine. It's not a problem. So now let's say, for example, I want to say print. I want to write print statement. Say print Musa. So then I want to make a comment on this. Then I can make a comment like this. I say this code prints my name. So this code prints my name. So when I run it, so you would say it's just gonna print only Musa. So but the three one we're talking about is like this. So I would say this is a multi-line comment. All right. Then I will say print this, then I will say print Musa. So now I will run it and you will see what would happen. So if I run it now, can you see is not seeing it? So it's going to run over it, but it's not going to bring it out. So wherever you write in it, it's not going to bring it out, but it's going to see it. It's going to see it as just a normal thing, which is not part of the code. So this is exactly what we're trying to understand. So we call it multiple line comment. So you can write as many things as you can say. This is a multi-line comment. It is, I can write more things. The code is used to print. It's used to print my name. No matter how long what you've written in between is, it's not going to see. It's just going to see the print statement. So this is exactly what I was mentioning to you, and this is how we use it. So let's move on again to the slide. And so as long as the string is not assigned to a variable, Python would read the code but ignore it. So now let's talk about variables now. Variables, like I mentioned to you before, they are containers for storing what data values. They are containers for storing data values. So variables are containers which are used for storing what? Storing data values. So how do we create a variable? So Python has no command for declaring a variable. So Python has no command for declaring a variable. So you just in Java, why do they say this? Because in JavaScript you say var. If you want to declare a variable, you say var something. So, or you say something, another thing, there's another one we usually use. But in Python, there's no need. Just say that word and it's gonna declare it. So I would give an example. So a variable is created the moment you first assign the value. So once you assign the value, then it's gonna be created. So I would show you how to assign a value very soon. So this is how to assign a value. For example, X is 5 and Y is John. Print X and print Y. It's gonna print X and it's gonna print Y. So I would also show you, let me show you how we can, let me show you on my, let me go back to my repo. So now I think you can see my repo, right? So now if I say name equals to Musa, name equals Musa, that's a variable. So the variable is name. So, and the value of the variable is Musa. So I would just say print name and it's going to print for me Musa. Or let me have let me say another thing so that Musa. Let me say print name is equals to Canada. So I can use country name, country underscore name. So this is another thing I would teach you later on, how to give a variable, how you can name a variable. So variables have a way to name them. So the variable here is country name, and I'm assigning the value Canada to it. So then I will say print country name, and it's gonna print the what? It's gonna print the country name. Is gonna print what I assigned to the country name. So it's gonna print exactly what I assigned to the country name. So if I run it now, it's gonna print Canada. You can see it prints Canada. So it's printing Canada because the Canada is the one value for the country name. So, and if I want to, if I say Z, for example, Z is equals to 58. Instead of using Z, let me use something else. Let me say temperature. Temperature. Temp is equals to 39. Okay. Age equals to 40. blood pressure, BP. BP is equals to, let me say BP underscore systolic is equals to 1114 mmHg. But let's leave it, let's leave value. So all of these temp, age, BP, sys, all of these are called variable name. So the 39, the 40, the 114 is called, we call them what? We call them the value of the variable. So the value we assign to the what? To the variable. So now let me print them, print temp, print age, print BP sys. So if you run it, it's going to print 39, 40, and 114. Someone might ask me, why did I refuse to put this temp in quotation, age in quotation, BP sys in quotation? I already assigned these words to, I already made these words to have a value. So once you've assigned it to value, you don't need to write the names. You don't need to put in quotation again. Now, what about if you put in quotation, what's going to happen? If I put in quotation, it's going to just print that temp is going to print temp for me. You understand? Now you will see if I run it again, it's going to print temp. I would not print the value of the temp because I said print temperature. I'm putting the temperature in quotation. So it's not going to print for me the value of that temperature. It's going to print for me the what? That temp, the name itself. So this is something common. People usually make these mistakes a lot, most especially when you're just writing the programming language in Python. So if you're writing programming language in Python and you want to work with variables, try to make sure that you are very, very careful with it. So now we can also do multiple things. We can, let's say, for example, I can say print. I can say print print temp divided by age. I can say print temp divided by age. You will see what would happen now. It's going to print for me the value 0.95. So I can also say print for me. I can say print temp times what? Times 9. So if I say print temp times 9, what would it give you? It's going to give you what? This value of temperature times 9. Now let's say, for example, I did not assign, I said print, I put a temp in quotation, and I say print temp times 9. Let's run it and see what's going to happen. So now do you see what happened? It print for me temp in 9 places. Temp. So this is how we usually use Python. We call this arithmetic operation. We've not got there, so I would not go deep into it, but this is how we do it. So once you assign a value to a name, anytime you print that the code, the name is going to print something else. So another thing I want you to know about variables is if I decide to give another one, this, if I say temp equals to now, I put temp is equals to 50. Let's just, for example, the next day, the temperature went to 50 degrees Celsius, and I put temp 50. If I print temp again, what do you think is going to print? Is it still 39 or 50? If I say print temp, well, guess what is going to print before I print it? It's going to print for me what? 50. Why? Because 50 is the latest what value given to temp. So it automatically what overshadows the old one. Am I making sense? So it automatically overshadows the old temp. So it deletes that from the memory of the computer. So it deletes it from the memory and replace that temp with what? With the most recent value. So this is exactly the way we do in programming language. Sometimes people usually make a lot of mistakes with the way they do. So they would try their best. They would not remember that once you've already mentioned something, you've given it a value. If you give it another value, it would remember the new value and forget the old one. It will remember it will remember the new one, and it's gonna forget the old one. So this is why you should be always careful when you want to assign a value to your variables. So let's go back to this. Now, I think you all understood this. So if you need to ask something, please feel free to ask me. So another one, as you can see here, so we can also, when you say print X, so X of, now you can say variables do not need to be declared with any particular type and can even change type after they have been set. So when you say print X, it's going to print, what would it print for you now? Can someone answer my question? Now, in this example, you have X is equals to 4 and X is equals to Sally. Now, if you want to print your X, what would it print for you? 4 or Sally? You can type the answer in the chat, meeting chat. Everyone type your answer in the meeting, go to the meeting chat and type your answer. If I print X here, will it print for me Sally or will it print for me 4? Sally. So why is it printing Sally? Because Sally is the latest value for X. Is that understood? Sally is the latest value for X. So it's going to print what? Sally. So I want you to understand this concept very, very, very well. Understand this concept very, very well. Now let's move on to the next one. So if you want to specify the data type of a variable, so there's something we call data type. Let me mention that quickly before we go to casting. So we have many types of data. We have many data types. So if you want to know the type of data you're working with, so you use a type statement. So you say print type, another bracket, temp. So you say print type temp. What does this code, what does it mean? The meaning of the code says print what type of data is temp. Do you understand what I'm saying? Print what type of data is temp. So when you run it, it's going to tell you temp is what is class integer. So it's not the temp itself as an integer, but it's the value of the temp as an integer. I will do another one. I will say print temp, but I'll put the temp into quotation. So I will say print type temp, but I'll put the temp into what? Into quotation. So like this. So when I run this, it's not going to print integer. It's going to print a string because it's printing what this temp is, not printing the value of this temp. Am I making sense? So it's printing the temp itself, not the value of the temp. So this is why it's telling you that temp is what? Temp is a string. Are you with me? So it's telling you that temp is a string and temp is not what? Temp is not integer. So now we have some other type of data. For example, let me say, okay, let's put this BPS into 14.6. So now I've changed it, BP6. So let me print type of BP6. So let me print type of BP6. BP underscore underscore 6. So I will run this and let's see what we're going to have. So we have a float. We have a float. So there is another one, print type true. Print type true. So what kind of data is true? It says a bool. So these are the basic 4 types of data we have. So that we have some other ones which we will talk about in the future. But for this basic class, you should know these 3 or 4 types of data we have. The first one is an integer. So this is an integer. So I will comment in the front. Int means integer. All right. So this one is a string. Is a string. That's the full meaning of str. So this one is a float. Is a what? Is a float. And this one is a what? Is a boolean. So it's a boolean. So I think you can see what I wrote, isn't it? So an integer is any number. 1,101 is an integer. I have a question. Is 0 an integer? 0 is an integer. Someone talk. Print type U. Can someone answer my question? Is U an integer? Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
Is this my network
Alaikum
fluctuating?
salam to barakatuh.
Right?
Bóyá ṣe lẹ dúró bóyá kán pèrún tán ni ṣá o. Mi mọ̀ pé network yín ni o. Àmọ́ kẹ́ ń sọ̀rọ̀ lọ.
Network colors. So as I was saying, so we have string, an integer. Integer is anything which is a letter. A string is anything which is words. A, B, C, D, temp, all of this is called string. While float is any number that has a decimal. Once it has a decimal place, it's called what? It's called a float. A boolean is the value of true or false. So when you have a value of true or false, it's boolean. So let's say, for example, you say A is equals to true. So if you say A is equals to true or is equals to false. So this is a Boolean value. So a Boolean value is a code is written like BOOL, bool. So these are the 4 basic types of data we have in the fundamental level. So bi'idhnillah, we would talk about more in the future. So let's stop here because of the time and because I have to also prepare for Salah. So if you have any questions, I want you to try your best and practice as much as you can. We've done a lot today, and at least you've seen how we can know the type of data we're working with. You've also seen how we can though we're supposed to talk about casting, how we can change one data type to another one. So it's called casting. So instead of, for example, you want to this temp, you have to cast it to become an integer. So we will start with that tomorrow, bi'idhnillah. So there is a special way to do these things. So inshallah, we'll talk about those ones by tomorrow, and we'll be able to do casting, bi'idhnillah. So this is where we're going to stop today because of time, and I wish you all the best. Try your best to practice. So try to practice as much as you can, and we'll meet again tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.